As you can see from this area, shape is not enough to invoke a sexual stimulus, and embodiment is not enough either unless there is a specific shape to that embodiment. And in this video I present a theory about why both shapes and embodiment are critical for sexuality based on the different types of neurons in our cortex. In the center of our brain is a structure called the striatum. The dorsal striatum contains the putamen and the caudate nucleus. These structures are important in motivation and reward, and dopamine is involved in the continued activation of striatum. When putamen areas gets activated, you get motivated and rewarded by performing specific motor actions, since the putamen is heavily connected with different motor areas of our cortex. But parts of the caudate nucleus are instead connected with retinotopic regions in the frontal and the parietal cortex. So when this area gets activated, you feel reward for spatially keeping your eyes at something. There have been a couple of fMRI studies where they have scanned males looking at pictures of women of different waist-hip ratios and of different body mass index. In one of those studies, they found that body mass index is more important than waist-hip ratio. They found as much activity in the extrastriate body area when viewing any type of woman, whether she was slim, medium or thick, but there were much more activity in the bilateral caudate nucleus when women with low body mass index were viewed than women with high body mass index, fat women. And this strongly suggests that fibers go directly from the extrastriate body area towards the caudate nucleus. So if we consider this picture of the striatum, embodiment areas and the lateral occipital cortex, at first when you saw a picture you did not know what it might be. Maybe you thought of it as a kind of bottle or bowl or something, which is a non-animate embodiment lying outside the extrastriate body area. You may have thought about it as an object with an opening, container, foot and base, such as that of a mushroom. When you see it now, it looks a little bit like a cat head from behind. And this would go to the extrastriate body area since it deals with the head and the neck of a cat from behind. The emotional significance of a cat head would later be registered in the temporal lobe. And then when more shapes appeared, you thought of it as a human body. In one case it was considered sexy probably, and certain shapes belonging to particular embodiment thus would send a signal to visual areas of the caudate nucleus. But in the other case, the guy with a fat belly would not have the correct shape to cause a visual reward in the caudate nucleus. There would not be any signal to this area in that case. And which of these two girls give rise to a visual reward? Most white guys would get a visual reward from seeing the right girl, but most guys from Central South Africa, such as Botswana or Namibia, would get a visual reward from seeing the left girl. To understand the way signals might go from the extrastriate body area towards the caudate nucleus, we need to take a look at the important types of neurons in the cortex. The extrastriate body area belongs to the cortex, while the caudate nucleus belongs to a subcortical area. There are 6 different layers in the cortex. The pyramidal neurons of layer 5 we see here, they are very important. The cell body is in layer 5, although some of its dendrites are higher up in layer 1 or 2. And they are very important in this situation because they are the very neurons in the cortex that send axon projections to subcortical regions, such as the striatum. They do not send axon projections to nearby cortical regions. And there are smaller pyramidal neurons in layer 3. They, on the other hand, send axon projections to nearby cortical regions in a topographic manner. Their axon projections go through layer 1, 2 or 3. And there are also other pyramidal 3 neurons that excite inhibitory interneurons in the cortex, and I will show one of the inhibitory interneurons later. But many of the pyramidal 3 neurons also excite pyramidal 5 neurons, which in turn send signals to the subcortical area, or contribute to depolarization of pyramidal 5 neurons. Then we also have even smaller pyramidal neurons in layer 2. They are sometimes continuous with a pyramidal 3 layer. There are also large pyramidal cells in layer 6, and they send the projections back to thalamus. And thalamus is a relay station in the brain. And while the pyramidal neurons in layer 5 send axon to subcortical regions such as the striatum, the pyramidal 6 neurons, they send signals back to thalamus. There are stellate interneurons in layer 4, and they are excitatory, and they receive projections from highly topographic regions in thalamus. So, for example, in the first visual area of the cortex, V1, there is a pronounced subdivision of layer 4, which receive lots of information from the lateral nucleus of the thalamus, since we humans have a well-developed vision. The main role of the stellate interneurons in layer 4 is to excite pyramidal neurons in layer 3, which in turn may excite pyramidal 5 neurons. And to better explain the process, we remove the neurons in layer 4, in layer 6, and in layer 2. As mentioned before, there are pyramidal neurons in layer 3, which send signals to inhibitory interneurons. For example, the large basket cells in layer 5 have their axons on the soma of layer 5 pyramidal neurons and inhibit layer 5 pyramidal neurons. So, in this picture, the blue pyramidal 3 neurons excite the orange large basket cell, while black pyramidal 3 neuron in this picture excite green pyramidal 5 neurons and send axon projections to a nearby cortical region. So if all this is from the extrastriate body area, these black pyramidal 3 neurons send projections to, for example, the temporal lobe areas, where understanding and emotional significance of embodiment is registered. And we remove 4 modules, so we only have 1 module left, so this could be more easily described.